Take my hand, take my whole life too, but I can't help falling in love with you.
Swindon Town into the promised land.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to an early kickoff to this Friday's Fools Rush In. And yes, the old school titles were back, and there are a couple of reasons for that, but most notably, I wanted to make as much use of this first hour as possible. As you all start coming in, remembering the early start, we put out as many reminders as possible. It's a big evening here on FRI, and we have one of the biggest guests we have had joining us, and I'm delighted, as is my fellow fool who has stopped doing everything an hour early to make sure he was here. So a little hello to him first. Evening, Woody.
Good evening. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. Yourself?
Yeah, not too bad. Looking forward to this. Put the kids in bed early and all of that kind of stuff. Well, I did put the kids in bed early. That's a complete lie. Alicia's put the kids to bed early. Looking forward to this one. Obviously a childhood hero of mine, and he won't know, but I can see him in the lobby as well. So hopefully he's not blushing too much on that one. So yeah, looking forward to this. We'll get chatting properly later.
Well, listen, we'll do all the usual stuff at the end of the interview bit. But as always, we are live, Facebook, YouTube, X. Please share this all over everyone's socials, because this is something that no Swindon Town fan is going to want to miss. And Woody's just turned all his lights off, and now we can't see.
Just adjusting my lighting. Indeed.
And I'm not going to waste any more time. Let's get our guest straight on, because I know I've got questions. I know Woody will have questions. And I know everyone watching along will have questions, which you can put in the live chat. Get involved. Come say hello as we welcome to FRI for the first of what will hopefully not be an only appearance to Mr. Stefani Miglioranzi. Stefani, welcome to FRI. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us tonight.
No, it's been a pleasure to be able to make it on, Fifey. I really appreciate you having me on.
No, honestly, I mean, you know from the messages we've exchanged how excited I've been. I've been telling you how excited the likes of Woody and the other guys who were watching along in the background, because they didn't want to swarm the screen. They wanted to give you the center of attention. And you've probably, I don't think it undersells it. You've probably got me the most amount of DMs from people saying, "Is this genuinely happening?" And I'm like, yes, this is actually happening. So we're going to watch the numbers as everyone remembers, because the reason we're doing this a little bit earlier than normal is because the time difference. You're obviously over in America, so it's 8:05 our time. So it's about noonish your time. Is that right?
Yeah, noon, middle of the day.
Middle of the day.
Yeah, nice sunny day here in California. So
yeah, I'm sure you've got much better weather than I've had in Leicester and
not to rub it in.
No. But again, thank you. There are so many things that I'm sure are going to crop up from today that people are going to want to ask. And I'll probably end up, this will be one of these I can see where people will still be sending in questions when they finish. So any that we don't get through tonight, I will send to you so that we can get as many answers to people as possible. But I suppose the best place to start really is how are you today? What's going on? Because, you know, for anyone who searches for old Swindon players the same way I do and will look on any potential app that they can find people on, you are smashing it in life right now.
Yeah, I know. I think, first of all, I'm very humbled that you guys think that highly of me. You know, I spent some lovely years at Swindon, and it was part of shaping up who I've become, you know, and part of growing in and through football has helped me get to the place I am today in my life and in the new career that I've chosen and everything else. But really just grateful for the way things that have played out.
Well, let's start where we all kind of connect then. Let's start at Swindon, and that there are moments that we will talk about almost without question. But when you look back, because I don't like to say it because it puts an age on us all, but it was a while ago now since you graced the county ground. How do you look back now at that time? You know, just over 100 appearances. You wore the captain's armband a few times. I was just looking back, and myself and Woody were talking about it. It was about 9 years ago that me and you first connected when we did a written interview about this kind of thing. But how do you look back on your time at Swindon?
Yeah, honestly, I thought it was short-lived. I wish it had gone on a little bit longer, and for reasons that I didn't control, it didn't happen. You know, I did at the tail end of my time in Swindon agree to renew a contract and stay there, and unfortunately didn't play out. But for the 3 years that I spent there, I can't say enough good things about it. The way the community accepted me, the way the football club took care of me, you know, the fans. I tell my son that you guys had a chant for me and he doesn't believe it, you know. So
he should believe it.
So many great memories, and honestly a bit sad that it was short-lived, because it could have been a little bit longer and given me a bit more time to really help Swindon more than maybe I did, you know.
We've both had opportunities during the time we've done this to discuss key moments in our fandom of Swindon, and I've always said my first ever game was a pre-season friendly, 21 years ago now, I think it was, and I didn't really know what to expect from watching Swindon. I'd only ever sort of seen Premier League games on the TV, that kind of thing, but as I've said before and I've written about, there was a certain centre midfielder who just stood out in a Swindon shirt, and he had all the technical ability that I was like, wow, this is incredible. And Woody, I know for you, as soon as I said, you were like, wow, this is a big one for you as well, someone you admired.
Who was it? I mean, I'm
well, it was someone that the fans kept referring to as Zidane. I didn't really understand.
I mean...
Sorry, carry on.
That likening is obviously, again, to even be remotely put in the same level as Zidane is a huge compliment.
I can imagine.
You know, yeah.
Woody,
I was about to say, Mike's just posted Sammy Igo, and I was going to break a joke and say, yeah, Sammy wasn't available, so we got you instead, Stefani.
I know. Well, I was fortunate to play with Sammy at Portsmouth before that, you know, and if I recall, he's a couple years older than me. So I was going to joke that he learned everything he did from me at Portsmouth, but that's not the case. You know, Sammy was a fantastic player. And again, the team that we were able to put together that first year was incredible.
Woody, I could speak a lot from my own perspective, but from yours, what, you know, because we're of similar age, what did having a player like Stefani mean as you were growing up as a Swindon fan?
For me, it kind of pulled my attention away as a fan from strikers, you know, because when Stefani was here, I think I was probably just about to go into college or just about to leave college. And obviously, well, one that you played with, Stefani, Sam Parkin, was always like one of my favourite ever players. And, you know, going through that, it was always strikers, always loved strikers growing up. And then as, you know, when you came onto the scene, it was kind of, oh, actually, do you know what? I quite like these technical midfielders as well, and kind of things that just changed perspective on the game. And it was weird because I was looking at the Wash blog as well as Fifey and you mentioned that because I was there that night, Leeds away, Carling Cup. I was there. I was up in Erlen Road that day. It was one of my very few away games I was able to attend to at that age. And obviously, the game itself was fantastic. Obviously, it didn't end too well, and we won't delve into that. But the game itself, and I remember you said it was like one of your favorite moments in the Swindon shirt.
Yeah, for sure. And so I I have a hard time recollecting a lot of details in games and things like that. You know, I don't know if I got hit in the head too many times by Dick Mackey with a medicine ball at the treatment table or something like that. But that game specifically stood out for, again, it was one of the moments where that team had come together so well. We played some unbelievable football. Sammy had, you mentioned Sam Park and Sam Igo. Brian Howard in that game was incredible. Gurney scored a fantastic free kick, if I remember correctly. You know, and it was just a very emotional day too, because you go to those bigger clubs to play in matches like that, and you know, you leave everything out on the field because it's your one opportunity to maybe make a jump or showcase yourself better. And it was one of the few games actually that after the game I was so spent that I was like emotionally drained. You know, I broke down in tears for losing that game, and it didn't happen very often. So it just shows the magnitude that game was, and really it was stolen from us.
Yeah,
if you look back at some of the details in that game, you know,
and
Bart getting sent off, right?
Yeah, and funny enough, talking about the other end, was it the first? Would it have been the first game, I guess, professionally, where the goalkeeper from the opposition would have scored as well for you?
Well, against me in the game that I participated, or obviously had seen it over the years, but the way he rose to head that ball as well, is like, come on, you can't script it, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely,
it was a killer.
Yeah. Sean's watching in on Facebook. Evening, Sean. He says the buzz pre-season back then was quite similar to the one that we've experienced this year. And again, I was looking back on some of the quotes from the written interview we did, and you said yourself the squad that had been assembled at Swindon around that time. Again, you guys have already mentioned Sam Parkin, you mentioned Brian Howard. There was some real talent right throughout that squad. Do you feel, looking back, that the squad maybe could have taken that one step more, or if they'd stayed together, that one more season would have gone one step more? I know we spoke about, and we will talk about, obviously there was Brighton in the playoffs, which didn't quite happen because it would have been Bristol City in the final, wouldn't it, had we have won that? And you know, as we say, that the talent of squad that was there with yourself, Sam, Brian, etc., really did feel like something that could go on to the next level.
Yeah, undoubtedly. You know, not only did we have a really good group of individual players, but we had melded really together. We gelled and kind of knew each other's tendencies. Yeah, we spent a lot of time off the field together, which helped bring us even closer and wanting to do more for one another. You know, me and Sam spent time driving in from London. Andy King was crazy enough to allow us to live out there and commute every day. So we got to know each other, and really wanted to help each other succeed. We had that kind of family feel to it, and it was a very fun environment to be in and around. And it was unfortunate that football happens. Sam has the season he has and gets the interest that he has, and you can't fault both club or him for looking to move on. But wish we had some owners with deep pockets to just keep the team together. It doesn't always happen that way, you know, but I think we would have gone on to even more success the following year if we had kept that core together.
Stefani, what was Andy King like as a gaffer? Because he's definitely one that he splits the fan base. I think it's probably safe to say. I mean, some would brand him as a fantastic scout. Some would say, you know, that he was kind of a manager of the people, you know, kind of that type of thing. How was it playing for Andy?
Yeah, I spent quite a little bit of time thinking about that because we obviously lost him not that long ago, you know, and I know how much he meant to me in my life. Basically, he took me out of Portsmouth at a time when I had been going through a lot of injury issues, gave me the opportunity, albeit his hands were tied and I had to go and prove myself at Swindon Town on a month-to-month contract to begin with. but he right away saw something in me, believed in me, to the point of bringing me in numerous times throughout every year that I played for him, and saying, "Hey, lad, you have more than being here. You should be aiming for bigger things and playing at the highest level." Of course, valued me tremendously. I saw him, as I saw many of my coaches in my career, as a father figure. He obviously had lived through it all, seen it all. He was perceived as rough around the edges by most, and I think about the time where he was let go and Ife Honora took over. It was a difficult time, and I wish I had spoken out a little bit more about what Kingy meant to me, to the club in general, because not only was he a fantastic human being, person, and really brought everyone together, knew how to get along with the players and manage, but I really thought he was a fantastic manager as well. He got the best out of us, organized us well. Obviously, the recruitment part plays it was a big piece of it, and the team he was able to bring together. But as far as a football mind, I haven't been coached by many like him.
You mentioned how there was a real good group chemistry amongst the squad. You said how like yourself and Sam would travel together. You said how a lot of you would see each other outside of sort of training and matches as well. Obviously, life has a way of lifing. Is there anyone you're still in contact with even after all this time, even just on they're just still in the phone kind of thing?
Yeah. Lots of the guys. Rory Fallon, I'm in touch with. He lived with me for a little while when he first got to Swindon, so I got really close with him. Sam, I still from time to time hear about from him, and we exchange messages. Brian Howard is in the agency business like myself right now, so we exchange thoughts on players and potential deals. Funny enough, I was in London this past summer with my family for the first time. The kids were visiting my sister who lives there, and we're walking around London and happened to bump into Jukesy like out of nowhere. Seriously, I was supposed to go into lunch in one restaurant, and they wouldn't allow kids in because it was like a speakeasy type of environment. And so we walked around the neighborhood again to look for a different place. And then I looked at this guy sitting at a patio. I'm like, freaking Jukesy. A Scottish guy living in Manchester is here. What a coincidence. So, we had stayed in touch over the years. And there's a few others, that attended my wedding actually during the time that I was ending my contract and playing days at Swindon. So we've stayed in touch, and that's nice. All of those guys are doing exceptionally well too. So yeah. I think it speaks to the character of the people we had in that group, who were very resilient and very tough people. So
I saw Andy Gurney about 3 years ago because he was managing Roman St. Glass, which is just down the road from us. And I did have a joke with him because he was having a cigarette out in the clubhouse after the game, and I said, "Oh, you got that one off, Kingy, didn't you?" And he's just sat there just chucking him away to himself. But yeah, it's good. It's good when you see that. It must be good when you see your teammates doing quite well for themselves. So you've gone on and done great things.
Gurney probably has a long head of hair now, or what?
No, he looks like he could play in that league as well, because he still looks like he could rough a few players up. To be fair, I wouldn't want to be on the end of one of his team talks when you're losing.
No, definitely didn't. I mean, I joke with my son, now that he's playing football. I was like, hey, make sure you're the penalty kicker for your team, and I have a bone to pick with Gurns about that, because he was our penalty kicker, and I wasn't going to pick a fight with him over who was going to take those penalties. I would have scored a few more goals for Swindon if I had that responsibility, But he was a great leader for us. You go
We've had a
down the
couple
list,
of-
and there's so many guys.
Oh.
Matty Hewlett,
Yep.
incredible for us.
Sean sent a couple of messages in. He's struggling to work his timelines out, so he says apologies, but he says, I can't remember, but were you there when Fallon scored his overhead kick versus Bristol City? He's trying to remember his timelines. Were you part of that squad still then?
Yeah, I was there. I was there for that one.
Absolutely crazy. And then he also said, he goes on to say, we were very unlucky against Brighton in that playoff. He said even the first leg should have been out of sight. Yeah, that was my so that was my first season supporting a team, and I got very much ingratiated into what it was going to be like being a Swindon fan that year. It seemed so good until it didn't.
Yeah, it was a gutting moment. You know, we lost the home leg 1-0, if I remember correctly. I was on the stands nursing an ankle injury, and then still managed to come back and be a part in the away leg. We scored a goal early on to tie the match, and then went on to playoffs. I believe off overtime, right? And
yeah,
they tied us after we had taken the lead. So again, hazy memories about it, but you know, I remember how gutted we all were afterwards, hanging out, trying to have a beer, and nobody could drink because we were so disappointed. Sam Parkin had 4 of his teeth knocked out, you know, from going down trying to head a ball and getting kicked in the face, and everyone was just so distraught and disappointed. But yeah, one of definitely biggest moments during my time there was that achieving that and getting to that point. It's too bad we didn't get to go see Bristol City in the
it would be
Wembley
absolute fireworks. It would have been absolute fireworks if that Swindon team played that Bristol City team at Wembley. It would have been absolute. Would it? Yeah, it was still Wembley then, wasn't it? It wasn't the Millennium.
Yeah,
Stadium.
I think at that time they were maybe at the Millennium as well, in Cardiff or
Swan?
Yeah,
Cardiff,
I think it was Cardiff, that one.
Yeah,
I'm sure it was.
So even more, I mean, ultimately location, it wouldn't have really mattered between Swindon and Bristol, whether they went to London or Cardiff. Either way, it would have been absolutely chaos.
Yeah, we would have had a good turnout no matter what, I think, huh?
Yeah, it would have been one for the ages, that's for sure. You mentioned when you first came on that you felt a certain bond with the Swindon fans and the local community for how they took you in. I suppose that when you're able to strike up that bond, it really helps you settle. Like you say, you kind of left Portsmouth, and although Kingy had clearly given you that boost to say you could be key here and you could go on to much bigger things, you still had to settle and feel like to prove yourself. So having that bond with the fans and the local community, I can only imagine was helpful to you.
Yeah, very helpful. And it started with, you know, I'm moving to Swindon from Portsmouth, leaving my house behind there, and the Mackey family took me in. You know, I was in digs with them for several months, and I can't say enough how grateful I was for that time, how well received I was by the club, and the club putting me in the care of that family, how lovely they were to me, you know. And it helped to strengthen again the feeling of I want to do something significant for this community, you know. And I think the way they treated me, it was something that I felt across the board when I was at Swindon. Or you know, the Italian brothers running the Italian restaurant at the top of Old Town there, and how welcoming everybody was. It definitely helped me. I think that the other guys felt it the same way. You know, there was quite a number of us that traveled from out of town, lived outside of Swindon, but you know, somehow we still had that connection. And for me, it started with the Mackeys, and Dick and his family.
If we can take a moment and just go right back to the very beginning, sort of what got you into football yourself from a young age, and how did it develop into? If I remember rightly, you kind of left college and got straight into the professional game, didn't you? So how did you get to that point?
Yeah, well, I think everyone knows I was also born in Brazil, so I think that had a little bit to do with it. My father was a professional player until his early 20s, and unfortunately suffered a career-ending knee injury. But it's in my DNA, in my blood. Grew up living across the main park in the city that I'm from, Poços de Caldas, and going to the field every moment of the day. Every moment where my mom didn't have a chore for me to do, or homework or school, I was out on the field playing. And so I was fortunate to have a community around me that's all they wanted to do. It was my passion, family's passion. And then moved on to New York when I was 12-year-old, and found a thriving football community there as well. New York State in general has a very strong footballing community. And then I ended up finding, my people there, and going through youth soccer in America, which hasn't changed very much, to be honest. It's still filled with youth clubs, unaffiliated to professional clubs, and you have the opportunity to learn to love the game through. I had some very influential people in my life with that, driving me around and giving a lot of themselves to allow me to pursue my goals. And then from that environment of youth soccer, getting recruited to go to college, which at the time was the highest level of play here in the US. And then fortunate enough that after the World Cup in '94, right, would have been, there was the establishment of MLS, and then professional soccer started taking off a little bit more. I was drafted to go into the MLS by Chicago Fire, but at that point I had already been to Europe and signed to Portsmouth. So yeah, brief history. That's how it all happened.
How did Portsmouth come about, Stefani? I mean, obviously Portsmouth are a big club anyway, but how did that come about?
Yes, fortuitous, really. I was in finished college, had my Italian citizenship before Brexit. That was worth something to us going to the UK. But let's not go into politics and what that all means. But because of that, my agent at the time recruited me out of college, had a big history in UK football. Graham Smith was his name. And he brought me to Everton at first. And I was there training with them for about 3 months. Weather was terrible in Merseyside, and couldn't really get a game for them to see me in action, and really make a final decision. And so at the end of those 3 months, I think I was there January, February, March. And in March, they finally organized for Portsmouth reserves, for me to take a part in a Portsmouth reserves game against Tottenham reserves at St. Albans. Some of those things that do stick in your mind, moments like that. And so Everton sent me down to play in that game so that they could see me. And then at the end of that game, I played really well. Tottenham had, millions of pounds of players on the field, and I held my own in a group that I had never played with. Showed a little bit of a bite as well, which I think is necessary to make it in the football in the UK. And so as I walked off the pitch that game, Alan Ball was there with my agent, and Bally said, "Hey, we want to sign you." And it was a decision on the moment to either go back to Everton, continue training and playing for the reserves, which a contract offer had been extended to play for the reserves, or to get on the bus with Portsmouth and go down to Southsea and and become a part of their club. So for me, 21, 22-year-old, an opportunity to go and play first team football right away, that called a lot higher than, going and making my way at Everton. Maybe played a little bit into, as confident as I was, I don't feel like I was an overconfident person. And maybe if I had more belief in myself, I probably would have chosen the Everton thing and cracked on with that, but really it was just the opportunity to go and play first team football right away. And the very next weekend I signed, and I played for Portsmouth in the championship. So kind of a fantasy almost,
Yeah. Certainly not a bad backup option, if you're training with a Premier League team and end up in the Championship. And ultimately these decisions of what's led us to here. If you'd stayed at Everton, you would have never gone to Portsmouth, possibly never ended up at Swindon, and we wouldn't be chatting now. That's
when you've made it onto Force Rush In, you
never
really
know. You would have signed another midfielder, and Sammy Igo would have taken you into the Premier League. We would have played against each other.
You mentioned we spoke about the early years. I suppose we should then flip it and go the other way. You mentioned the MLS. I think did you have 2 spells at LA Galaxy in the end?
In the end, I finished, as I mentioned, I finished at Swindon Town. Ife Honora had taken over. Months prior to the end of the season, we had agreed a new deal, and then season came. Things changed and deal was no longer there. At that time, I was in conversations with Darlington to go play up there. I think Juxi had gone over. There was an introduction and there was interest. So it also happened to be at the time where I was getting married. And that summer, 2006, my honeymoon was, in the oh my gosh, out in the Pacific, so Tahiti, and on the way back from there, so really nice. I spoiled my wife, and as it should be, right? Got to get things off on the right foot. And
just so in case she ever watches this back, yeah.
Well, hopefully she watches, and most beautiful woman on earth, He back to football.
Yeah.
When I was traveling back from my honeymoon, my agent called me and said, "Hey, there's an opportunity for you to train at LA Galaxy and see if something comes off." They obviously had followed you from your college times, and coach at the time there was Frankie Allop, former Ipswich player, and I came over since it was on the way, stayed 2 weeks, trained, did really well, and then they signed me. So it was either, go play at Darlington and start my marriage there, or live at the beach. And
Darlington or LA is a tough choice.
Really tough choice. So I came for the latter half of the 2006 season, got only a few appearances, and then at the end of that, the way MLS contracts are structured, it's not a lot of security for the players. I went into that next preseason with a club option to do something. Frank Allop pulled me inside in the office and said, "Hey, listen, we're signing this other player. We need your $20,000 a year to sign David Beckham." So no, but David came the following year, and the club was undergoing some changes, and unfortunately, I didn't have a space there. But a coach that had followed me very strongly throughout my career was Ziggy Schmidt, was the coach at Columbus. Then traded for me, took me there, where I had quite a good spell, 2 years playing regularly. And we won the championship in 2008. So at the end of 2008, he left and went to Seattle. And at that point, I got traded back to LA Galaxy to play one more year. And then that year I got to play with David and Landon Donovan. We had a fantastic team that went all the way to the final, but didn't win, unfortunately.
What's that like when you've had, you've had the experiences you've had with the likes of Portsmouth, Swindon, and that's not belittling even our own club here, but you're all of a sudden then, even just for the one season, playing with international stars, the likes of Donovan, but then global mega stars, the likes of Beckham. Well, what's that like? Is even just by association, is everything around you completely different?
Yeah, different level of organization, even security, the types of things that clubs have to consider when you go into that. I always was kind of a private person and quiet in my own life, but, with that stuff around, some of it you can't control. I think, obviously, it kind of made me at that point aware that, hey, I am a really good player, and I grew in confidence a little bit, and had finally overcome some of the knee issues that took my career in the path that it went. Playing with him was a real interesting experience, because at times, you're an equal, and then at other times you're sitting there as a fan watching, going, freaking guy, he sold his soul to the devil for sure. How is it possible that the ball does that after it leaves his foot? So things like that. There's obviously, it's a different world that they live in, and in a lot of ways you have to respect him for the way he's handled himself, because the scrutiny he's under and the type of life that he has. Yeah, would I have traded everything in my life for a career like his, and the money and all that stuff? I probably say no, honestly, because it's just too much. Too much. He's probably used to it, loves the attention. But
I mean, I get it, but I could also see Mix, the Netflix documentary. I think it would be a big watch.
Hey, if you watch the David Beckham documentary, I have my moment of glory. It's like the highlight of my career, or at the very last episode, I'm pulling him away from the crowd. And that's it.
Come on, this is about me, Bex.
Pans away, and that's it.
So obviously, it's actually a nice segue there. You talk about, Bex being the other side of the coin, if you like. But when it comes to what your line of work now, how much kind of guidance are you kind of having to think about that for players that you take on when it comes to, if they hit the big time quick? Do you ever have to kind of think about that at all?
Yeah, definitely. The world's changed a lot, and around football, some of the stuff we got away with back when we were playing, it would all be recorded and posted right now. So maybe we would behave better. It wouldn't have gotten in so much trouble, but you have to think about your brand and your public facing figure, that kind of stuff, that in a manner that we didn't have to worry about. I guess some people like that, and so it becomes part of the consideration I have to give is, how much does the next client I'm signing view that as a big part of his career? And if they are into social media and that kind of stuff, we obviously provide guidance to steer them away from trouble and how to magnify and become earn the right interest from it and attention and possibly revenue, without getting into the pitfalls that follow it as well. I was a very private person. I didn't want to have anything out there about me, and I could care less about getting a shoe deal. I just wanted to play. But I think the mentality is completely different, and you have to be very aware that these kids are growing up in a completely different environment, and it's tough. So try to guide them as much as I can. I'm an old dinosaur almost with all this sort of stuff. But, you know, as much as I can guide them and steer them, yeah, that becomes part of the conversation for sure.
I still have a couple more things that I'd like to follow up on things you've said. However, Sean's asked a question that I'd like to put to you, if I may. If you didn't make it as a footballer, what job would you have opted for?
Ooh, good question. I don't know. I've always been like a manual labor, like really makes me feel accomplished. You know, like I go do my stuff in my backyard, I feel accomplished. My grandfather was a carpenter by trade, so I have really good memories of him with his hand turning screwdriver in the shop making something, you know. So I have a feeling if football was never in the picture, probably something like that, you know. I really do quite enjoy what I've landed on now. I didn't know if I had the mettle to go into the football world and the business side of things, because especially as an agent, because you hear all this unpalatable stuff about being an agent. But, you know, I think I've made it my own and carry my own style and integrity that I had as a player into it, and it's benefiting me. So either a carpenter, you know, or
there's definitely a new chant there, and there is granddad was a carpenter and his dad was a Brazilian. There's a chant there somewhere. I'll come up with it at 3:00 in the morning.
Yeah, for sure.
On that note, have you, because we've been fortunate over the last few years of doing this, where we've spoken to people from years gone by at Swindon, and they've come back to the county ground for something, and the fans have given them the reception that they deserve for what they've achieved. Have you ever managed to come back to Swindon since you left?
I haven't.
And if not, we have to sort it.
You know, I got there and I got lost at that freaking roundabout thing, you know. No, I haven't had the chance. It was I've been in the UK in different stints now, and it's all business and, you know, very rushed. This last summer I was with my visiting family in London, and obviously in the summer there's nothing going on football wise in the UK, so it doesn't tie into it. But, you know, I do have a desire to go back, take my kids there. I follow Swindon Town and the results. It's great to see how they're doing in League Two this year, you know, and hopefully they can push on to gain promotion and get back to the levels that the club deserves to be at, that the town deserves to be a part of as well.
Well, we will definitely stay in contact, and next time you're in the UK, we will try and make sure something works, and we'll get in touch with the club ourselves and say, look, we've got an actual megastar coming back, so that you need to sort this out, that he's going around the pitch so the fans can chant properly. Maybe nothing else, just so his kids can hear the Zidane chant.
Yeah.
Maybe I can dress up as Swifty and then make a surprise appearance out of the costume.
Yeah, you could do that. I was just thinking, you were thinking like parading round 5. I was going, can you imagine Kilkenny and Miglioranzi in midfield?
Absolutely.
Well, I still think I can play, but
well, do you know, my next question was actually going to be, you said obviously about your kids play football now, and I imagine that you pass on some nuggets of wisdom and do a bit of coaching there. Do you think there's a chance one day we could see the name Miglioranzi on a Swindon shirt again?
I certainly hope so. My son is very dedicated, you know. His name's Enzo. He's 15 now. Every breathing moment he's out training. You know, it's difficult, you know, to make it through in football. I don't have any expectations of him making it as a pro. It's truly, if it happens, I'd be so thrilled for him to reach his dream, and I want to support that as much as possible. So, you know, if I can dream of something and just wish that it happens for the sake of him and his happiness, I'll be happy no matter what he chooses, but I know he would be the happiest if he could make it through in football. So yeah, hopefully he reaches a level and Swindon Town keeps gaining promotion, then you can afford to sign a player like him.
Well, watch this
Way to ruin
space.
it.
Yeah, it's a lovely moment.
Well, I'll be his agent, so I'll figure out a bargain deal for you guys. Don't worry.
Nice. Thank you. Appreciate it. How do you see the development of? I struggle to say soccer. I apologise. How do you see the development of football, soccer, the MLS and stuff? It is still the impression we get over here is it is still growing in popularity a little bit, but it's still not quite. It's not getting the same attention still as, say, some of the other European leagues in the UK. But of course, you've had the World Club Cup over there in the summer. You've got the World Cup next summer. Is football in itself still growing in America?
Yeah, very much so. Obviously, Americans don't do things half-assed. They go into it. They want to succeed. It's difficult to grow a competitive league out of nothing like they've had. They've had obviously experiences in the past with NASL, and dumping money into things isn't exactly the solution. You have to have a dedicated fan base to support it. And I think it's getting to the point where, the next generation, my son's generation and even the generation after his, they're actual football fans. They want to turn on the TV and see a football game. And so the moment that transition happens from, hey, I'm going to go play baseball, which is still a very big game here, or football, and I think our football keeps gaining interest because of injuries and things related to the American football. I think as all of those things start adding up, it's getting to a point where additionally, and you combine it with the investment that the Americans are making into the sport, the number of professional academies that are popping up, still and has been for a long time the sport with greatest youth participation in America. And now you have, the investment, and it's people's favorite sport. I think it's only a matter of time before it blows up and goes to a different level. Obviously, MLS has some controls which have allowed it to grow, and they've grown very responsibly. But it's going to get to a point where, hopefully TV money comes in. Again, the fan base is big enough to support it, where there's additional money to be put into it. And then if you're telling someone, hey, you can sign and go play in Scandinavia and live in the cold, or you can come live in California and make more money and play in a bigger league, have more exposure, I think the time's coming where that will happen. And the World Cup next year will certainly elevate it again, like it did in '94. It allowed for things to be prepared for the establishing of the MLS. The people who have run the league, although I'm on the agent side and I wanted to behave differently in many ways for the benefits of the players, they've been very sensible with the way they've constructed it. So I think it's all just going to start growing in leaps and bounds and taking other steps once the World Cup is through.
And what's your expectations for the World Cup? We know that America can host big events. Do you think that this, from a fan's perspective, whether that's those in attendance and everything that I can imagine that the Americans are going to be putting on, or for those of us watching from the screens, do you think this is going to be one that we look at and think, wow, that is not just games of football, that's wild?
Yeah, it's again, the Americans know how to entertain and do sports, right? And I think FIFA is going to come pour money at it. The venues are incredible. The stadiums that are hosting are some of the most modern and biggest stadiums around. And so in really good cities that are going to be very welcoming to the foreign public that comes, I think it's going to be a really special one. And on the back of, obviously Qatar had its issues and there was a big production. I think a lot of that stuff that was marring the view of the World Cup is kind of off to the side, and for the 2 months we'll be able to really focus on football. And I'm a little bit against the number of teams that are going to be participating, and just
I
keeping.
don't think I'm the only one.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, we'll get to the final stages, and there'd be high competition throughout. And really excited to hopefully be able to afford a ticket over here too. That's going to be another thing.
As someone who has played in different countries, there's a theory that goes around, for example, that with a World Cup in America, European nations will struggle to adapt, and it's almost certainly going to be one of the South American teams that wins it. Do you subscribe to that, or do you think with the quality around Europe as well that, I'm not going to say England, because let's face it, we know we don't win World Cups, unfortunately. It happened once and we won't see it again. But the likes of your Frances and your Spains can go to America and win?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I think so. It's fair game for everybody. I think the level of competition in Europe always prepares the teams better for going into the World Cup. You're facing tough competition throughout qualifications, and South America maybe a little bit more as well, but I think European teams have that edge in that their preparation for it leading up to it, the games and qualifications are much, much tougher. So it won't be as hot as it was the last time. I think travel in the US and for World Cup, these guys are all taking charter flights, so there's no excuse really. I think European teams can come and have success. And England, for me, and I'm not saying this because I played there and all that, I think England right now is one of the dark horses. It has a good shot of coming here and finally lifting the trophy.
Finally doing it.
To be fair, I think that's how us England fans should look at it, to be fair. We're one of the dark horses, because too often now we get too arrogant and assume we're going to win the World Cup and knowing that we're not going to.
Yeah, well, be a little bit more optimistic, guys. Come on, You can
but the problem is you get this where me and Woody are like, I just don't think, let's just keep it level, because the next step up from I'm just not sure is it's coming home. There's no in between.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to go out there and say England's going to go very far. I'm going to go. Well, hold me to it.
If we didn't love you before, then we're loving you even more for saying things like this.
Let's see.
Aside from kicking the ball around the garden with the kids, do you still play a bit in what spare time you get? Do you still, I don't know, five-a-side, anything like that, or are the boots firmly away?
Oh no, I mean, I can't get enough of it. Honestly, work is keeping me very, very busy. So what little time I find, I do try to play a little bit. My son likes to go out, and I run sessions with him. And this evening he'll play futsal. I go, and if they need a number, I'm in, in goal or something like that. Routinely, I have a Wednesday morning pickup game that I participate in. Nice. Because it's the part you miss the most about football is the camaraderie, the banter, and that kind of stuff. So my son's youth team, all the coaches get together. There's a good group of guys there. It's all very safe, to put it in a good way, where there's not going to be any conflict or a real chance of getting injured and that kind of stuff, other than the chance that come with you getting older and slower. So I go and play pretty regularly. Sometimes in an over 45 men's league, I'll play 90 minutes for a local team, and win, lose, or draw, if I meg somebody, I'm happy. And I think that's the part that's missing for football a little bit. Let's worry less about the result, more about entertaining. And
absolutely. I'm very conscious of how busy you are. So what I would like to do is firstly say thank you for entertaining us while you were at Swindon. Thank you for entertaining us tonight. I suppose my last question is from your playing days, I know you said some of the details of things that have happened can be hazy when you think back, but are there standout moments that you look back on your career and say, that's a key moment, that is a moment in time that I will never forget, I hold dear, that kind of thing?
Yeah, again, there's a few of those. Obviously, thinking back on my Swindon Town moments specifically, the faith that Andy King showed in me, and the club showed in me at a time when I was maybe thinking I was going to have to stop playing because of injuries. That really, it was a very, very special thing. And, then some of the goals I scored at Swindon, which goals dried up for me after that. So I had some really, what I would say, my most spectacular goals at Swindon, and one in particular where I was going through a really rough time in my career there, and change of managers looming, this kind of stuff. We played Bristol at home, and I got to wear the captain's band, I think for the only time for Swindon Town, and ball popped up inside the 18, and I was able to slot it, and celebrating in front of the fans was a memory I have to this day. I have a good picture of me standing there with my arms out and Rory Fallon next to me. That's a real moment that sticks in my head for sure, because of the adversity that I was going through and some of the personal turmoil and lack of belief in myself maybe, and then to be able to pull through and carry on after that. I can't thank enough the people of Swindon, the club, for the time I had there, and I hope to repay it even more, not just on the field, with opportunities that come in the future. Maybe I can bring a good player there. Maybe my son does end up being a player that comes and dons the town shirt, and and other things in and around the community. If I can ever be of assistance and help to anybody, Swindon Town, it's a place that's dear to my heart, and of course I'm readily available.
This has been an unbelievable hour. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your incredibly busy schedule to talk to us. Again, hopefully this won't be the only time. We'll any time that you're free, we would love to welcome you back on for more conversation. But absolutely, next time you're back in the UK, we would love to try and help facilitate getting you back to the county ground, because I think we've seen it before, haven't we, Woody, where former players or even managers, assistant managers come back to, whether it's to celebrate an anniversary or we've had things like during the COVID seasons where people have come back to celebrate the trophies with the fans that they never got to do. And the reception has been massive. And I know without question, if there was even the hint that you were coming back just to say hello to the Swindon fans at the county ground, the Zidane chants would be out in no time flat, because again, the messages I had when we said you were coming on here to talk to us were, this is going to be incredible. It's going to be such a good listen. So thank you so much again. Thank you for everything you did while wearing the shirt, and for talking to us tonight, and for anything else that you're going to do in the future, because any connection that you have with Swindon is going to forever be a strong one.
No, it's always been my pleasure. Honestly, I sincerely mean it when it holds a dear place in my heart. And thank you for being so accommodating with the time difference as well. And
no, not at all.
Fitting me in. And if somebody wants to be bored for another hour, another time in the future, I'll happily supply the boredom for them. No problem.
Well, listen, have a great rest of your day. Enjoy what looks out that window there as much nicer weather than we're having. And we hope to chat to you very, very soon.
Thank you very much, guys. Take care.
Thank you. Take care.
Great speaking with you.
And you. Thank you very much.
All right. Bye-bye.
Goodbye. Stefani Miglioranzi. What a great hour that was, Woody.
Yeah, wasn't it just? It's almost like
it flew by, absolutely flew by.
I was trying not to fangirl halfway through it. I genuinely was, because I can't remember if I did the Sam Parkin one. I'm sure I did.
You must have done.
Yeah, it's I think it's that international connection, isn't it? You know, like where you've kind of, obviously Parkin was brilliant. You know, he's one of my he is my all-time favorite player. But when you think you got, oh my God, we've got like a Brazilian American playing for Swindon Town, or had a Brazilian American.
Don't forget Italian.
An Italian, yeah, a bit of everything. So, but yeah, and what a humble guy as well. What an absolute humble guy. Like, it's just, it's
she just played everything down.
Yeah, because I think about things like that, and I go like, obviously he's very humble for what Kingy did, and that's one of the reasons I asked that question. And then you've got, you know, as much as I loved Charlie Austin when he was here, whenever he's interviewed, he very much plays down the Swindon thing. Like, when you think of kind of the comparisons between the two, we gave him a platform. At similar, well, Miglioranzi's platform, I guess, was technically Portsmouth, but you know, we gave, and it just doesn't. Sometimes it's quite interesting to see how players speak of their time at the club in comparison as well.
Now, I know officially people claim they don't, but we know there are people within the club that do watch Fools. You know, it's very apparent that people within the club watch Fools. I don't think anyone associated to Swindon Town can watch that last hour and think we can't get him to the county ground at some point so his kids can hear the fans give him the reception he deserves.
Yes. If what is he said 15, is he now? If we're not announcing in July that we've signed 16-year-old Enzo Miglioranzi, I mean,
Enzo Miglioranzi,
what a name that is to have in a Swindon Town shirt. But yeah,
and like you say, you could then fulfil the prophecy of Miglioranzi and Kilkenny in midfield.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, so yeah, it is. You do often think about, because you always go, oh, come on, you know, one of those is he's going to turn up to a charity game or something one day. I mean, I was just sat there just when you were thinking about it, again, he needs to be invited to a charity game. It would be like, I don't know, you could end up something, even Sammy Igo, but you could even go like Cy Ferry or Sammy Igo and Michael Doughty and Miglioranzi in midfield and just absolutely scream technical filth at it. It's just, it's it was good. And you know, I mean, surely we've set something up though, Fifey. We had Halls on Friday and on Monday, and Miglioranzi on tonight.
Well, I'm just throwing something out there. I'm just throwing it out there. Obviously, the other night, Andrew did say that someone he would like to do co-coms with was Ben Gladwin. And I can confirm that message was passed directly to Ben Gladwin, and a message has gone back to Andrew Hawes saying that Ben Gladwin's very up for doing co-coms with him at some point. So in the not too distant future, maybe expect a current Wycombe coach to be on BBC Radio Wiltshire, because they're both up for it. If we can make that happen, we could get super agents from America over past the Magic Roundabout to come and say hello to fans or perform a charity game. We can sort it.
We got the resources for that. Yeah, that's fine.
Mike says, I'm sure Vic would do a pitch side interview with Miggs. I'm sure he would. I'm absolutely sure he would.
Miggs has already interviewed Miggs, isn't he? Because Vic has been on, Miggs has been on OSC. He has been on OSC.
Yeah, it was a few years back, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was funny because I was trying to remember, I was trying to think through, because Miglioranzi, when he mentioned about having the captain's armband and he scored that goal, and I was thinking that must have been the only goal he scored inside the 18-yard box. So I was trying to think, what was my favourite goal? I was sat there, and then obviously it just come up in the video search, and it was when Trust Supporters Association had their old badge and stuff like that. So it must have been in their really early days of similar to us, I guess, when we started out. So but yeah,
just on the other side of things, and before I say this, I should say you mentioned how humble he is. I've instantly had a message saying, thank you for having me on. I really enjoyed it and really appreciate the opportunity. Hopefully you receive some good feedback about it. And if there are any more additional questions that people would like answering, I'm more than happy to do so. So if you do have questions that we didn't ask, get them to us. We will get them straight to Miggs and get them them answered for you.
Like this one.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
definitely one. No, I wouldn't mind on those. He's probably got more money than him as well.
But yeah, on the other side of the coin, and as you know, we've discussed this kind of thing before, and I've got absolutely no problem stating this live to the internet. He's still a very good-looking boy, isn't he?
Oh yeah, I was sat there going like, hold on a minute, like me and you, look, kind of mid to late 30s, and he's nearly 50, and I'm sat there going, he's definitely gone the right way in life. So it's extreme.
Yeah, he's certainly not had a trifle before this interview, has he?
Yeah, exactly. before we came on, I said to Alicia, I said, oh, tonight's the episode with Miglioranzi, and she's like, yes, you've said, you said, and I was like, yeah, but I said, Alicia, but look how good looking he was when he was playing at Swindon. And I said, he probably doesn't look that much different now, and he bloody doesn't.
And no, he didn't.
Absolute
I think it was
bastard.
Mike that said early doors, he looks like he could still do a job.
Yeah, bastard.
Anyway, as much as we enjoyed that, there are other things to talk about, because after a week off, which included 4 days off concurrently for the players, Swindon Town are back in action tomorrow. And fresh from the news that Miggs keeps an eye on the results and wants Swindon to do really well, surely that will cause inspiration for a win away at Accrington. What are your thoughts on the game, Woody?
Yeah, I tell you what, it feels like blinking ages, doesn't it? I know it's only been
a week.
I guess 2 weeks since the last game,
yeah.
isn't it? Yeah, but it did feel like a really long one. I've not watched all of Holloway's interview yet, but I can't.
That's a decent one.
I'm sure it is, but I just can't imagine. Well, I can imagine, but if you're a professional player, you've hit a good moment of form and all of this kind of stuff, and then it just almost comes to a stop, and you've got you're almost back to the beginning again. From my point of view, I just really, really hope it's not it's not a sign of a downturn in the season. In terms of, is this momentum radar just suddenly going to dip? And and annoyingly, an away game's probably the last thing you want.
Well, you say this. However, I was doing some, because for today, I wanted to make sure I was fully researched for everything. So I did some prep work for today's episode. And according to AIScore.com, in terms of total matches, there's been 13 between Accrington and Swindon, of which Swindon have won 5 and drawn 5. So we don't have a terrible record. And if you look at the games at the Crown Ground, we've won 2 of 7, drawing 4. So we've only lost 1 away game at Accrington as well. So me being the football philosopher that I am, Swindon near the top of the league, Accrington near the bottom of the league, Swindon having a decent record against and at Accrington. This only leads to one thing, Woody.
A Swindon loss.
Exactly, yeah.
Well, and this is the thing. So, I mean, although I will always quote it, I'm not always one that kind of goes or subscribes to. I like that word you used earlier. Subscribes to the whole, we always do quite well there, because we're totally different sides. We're a totally different type of play. We're, Accrington are a different side. And yes, you can go to places like Newport and even Accrington to a certain extent, and it's going to be a hard pitch to play on. Well, I don't know about Accrington, but for Newport, for example, but I don't, it's not like a cold Tuesday Stoke, it is just, for me, it's history is irrelevant at the moment, because our history over the last 5 years is shocking. So it's, I think,
to put these things into perspective, let's not forget that included in those wins and in that run of good results is a game where we were 4-0 up and just about came away with a 4-3 win.
Yes. Oh yeah, blimey, that game, wasn't it? Yeah. So yeah, I think I'm really hoping, and I'm putting a lot of trust into like you said, Holloway's given them 4 consecutive days off. Hopefully that works. I'm assuming that was nearer the beginning of the 2 weeks.
They were off Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday.
Oh, okay, right in the middle. Okay. And then it's but yeah, no, I hope it works. It might give us an opportunity. That there's obviously, I don't think it's done enough for players to come back in yet. So I'm guessing the squad's still the same
he
squad.
He said that Drinnan's fit. He said that I always forget his name. Is it Ball? Is that the one that's been injured?
Ball? Yeah, he's been out for a while.
So he's taken part in training.
Oh, that's good.
And everyone else is kind of as they were, from what I remember from the interview.
Okay. Yeah, so he's got a lot to pick from then. And I guess he probably, I don't know, did he mention anything about maybe did he do any internal friendlies or behind closed doors?
Yeah, he said Swindon themselves just did a game, like 11 versus 11, but it was a proper game, kitted out, Premier League referee, and Swindon beat Swindon 3-0.
Get in there, Town. Never clean sheet.
But we don't know who was on which 11.
Yes. No, but I mean, Accrington haven't had a great start either. Well, I say start. I mean, come on, we're near November now.
Their last 3.
Yeah, I mean, and also, when do we stop saying start? You know, it's kind of we're getting near
very
November
much in
now.
the season now.
Yeah, so it's are they having a good season? I think I think they're lurking just outside the relegation spaces, aren't they? I think.
Just a few spots above them. That's right.
Yeah. So, but as we know, that could spur on anybody as well. But I think I'm still relatively confident. I still stand by. We've got such a good squad. This will go one. I'm confident, but this will go one way or the other. We are going to either play them completely off the park tomorrow and win well, or we're going to get smashed. It's going to be one of the two.
We didn't have a show on Monday for many reasons, but it means we haven't had the chance to comment on the fact that while we didn't play, we couldn't have had a much better weekend because results went completely our way almost. We didn't lose any ground. We've now got a game in hand, and we're still only 2 points off top of the table.
Yeah, so like you were saying earlier, we haven't lost to Accrington for a while. We tend to do quite well against Accrington. We're near the top of the table. They're near the bottom. Every single result pretty much went our way last week. So yes, it's 100% pointing towards a Swindon lose, actually, isn't it? So,
we couldn't have any more negative omens.
No, and I think it is great now because I know.
Fit.
Yeah, I think it's but in all seriousness, it's great now because we're looking at it kind of. I was trying to think how many games we're in. 11 games. Yeah, we've played 11. Yeah. And whilst, of course, you'll always prefer to have points on the table, but now we know winning that game in hand, which is Tuesday, I think. Yeah, it is Tuesday. Yeah, winning that game in hand will put us top of the table as long as we do the business tomorrow. So it's just,
which
and I think
throw in on that point, by the way. Fair play to, I don't know how much who says makes a difference, but fair play to the authorities for actually doing a quick turnaround on a postponed game, because normally game gets postponed in October, you're playing it in January.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm kind of glad of that as well, actually, mainly because I love a Tuesday night game, and I think it's going to be a decent spectacle to have on a Tuesday night as well. But yeah, it's as I was saying, it's kind of, you're going into the game knowing that as long as we do the business tomorrow, that we could be top of the table. And at this stage of the season, momentum is key. So being top at any stage from now, really, from game 10, as I think me and PCM have always said, that it's we start to look at the table more seriously from game 10 onwards. And so for me now, if we can get that result tomorrow, even better if we happen to get a draw and Walsall lose or whatever, as long as we've got a bit of a positivity over Walsall, then going into Tuesday with Notts County without McGoldrick, we might stand a good chance of going top of the tree for a little bit. So yeah, I think it's great because it's not falling away like the COVID year, in terms of not COVID, or even the year after the return from COVID, where teams were like 3 games in hand. I think at one point we were like 4 games ahead of everybody, and things like that. It is literally, there's about 4 teams that are 1 game in hand. So it's still really close. So it's a realistic view. It's not a it's not a false position, as people like to say. So yeah, it's at the moment it's where we deserve to be based on our season.
Well, let's see exactly how confident you are then with everything we've had to say. What's your prediction for tomorrow?
Well, yeah, like you said, everything goes against us because everything's for us tomorrow. But in all seriousness, I do feel we are going to be back with a bang. I'm even more confident in hearing from you that Drynham is back in the fold now. Because he's now going to have to score 2 to get back to his goal per game average, or whatever it is. So 3-0 Swindon. I'm going to go for.
Okay, nice. I'm going to go 5-1.
Nice. Yeah.
Thanks.
I
feel the defence will be a little bit rusty, just because they haven't played and clearly they conceded 3 goals against themselves. But yeah, I think 5-1. 5-1.
Nice.
As always, do you know what? I don't know if any of the lads are going. We've all been talking about kind of this interview as opposed to what's anyone's plans. I think maybe, was it Wazza or Arch or possibly even Rich was talking about it, but I'm not sure. There may well be some fools there tomorrow.
I'm sure Warren's not going. He would have mentioned it to me last night, I'm sure. Yeah, I don't know. Nobody's really spoken about. I think a lot of the talk has obviously been about Rotherham. Probably in our chat as well.
Maybe that's what confusing it with. Yeah.
So yeah, it's but yeah, it'd be good because it'd be wonder if how many people go out there tomorrow. Because, but yeah, unfortunately, I won't be there because I'm at the other end of the country. So it's but yeah, that'd be interesting.
For some reason, and Mike pointed it out, YouTube isn't letting people use their real names anymore. So I'm recognizing those who are able to have a kind of half their normal name. Sam said solid 2-0 win, Lepo, or as we're now going with Lepo 9005, has gone 2-0 Town. So yeah, lots of confidence. If you are travelling up tomorrow, as we always say, travel safe, be loud, be proud, and let's hope the refreshed Reds can pick up another 3 points and get that momentum ready for midweek action. At the weekend, though, there is a feast of women's football available. Should you choose to watch it, and don't worry, Woody, as I know it went horribly wrong last time me and you did this. I did some prep for us.
So did I this time.
Yeah. So Swindon Town women have 2 games apart. I seem to remember I listened a little bit to Rich Wood's pre-match after I listened to Holloway's, and I vaguely remember this from last year as well, that yes, they've got 2 cup games on the same day, so it's kind of a mix of it's Kiana's development side go to one, isn't it, while the first team play the other.
Yeah, so it's not unusual in National League. So because, and I want to say this with the greatest respect to the competitions and the teams within, but because in the early rounds, especially, you tend to get kind of tier 7, asterisk tier 8, as I like to call it, going into the cup, playing against your Swindons and things like that. There's a lot of the tier 4, tier 3 teams will use their development sides anyway. Although the problem is the rules of the competition always state you should play your first team available. So I think this is kind of
where
almost...
you're not allowed people on contracts, which is where Swindon also have a problem.
Yeah, but then I read somewhere that wasn't the case this year or something stupid. I don't know. But either way, you've got that rule in anyway. But yeah, I think it's the right thing to do. I watched Kiana's and I watched Rich's pre-match, and they're approaching it very much the same as last year. Obviously, I imagine there'll be some fringe first team players playing against Salisbury, because they won't want to take it. The Dev side are a very good side, but they still want to hold on to the cup. They still want to hold on to the county cup. And not saying that the Dev side aren't capable of beating Salisbury, but it's a bit of an arrogant risk to take if you use the whole Dev squad against a senior side. So yeah, I think we'll see players that, because we got to bear in mind how good Rich Wood's squad is and how big his squad is. You know, he's had players that were first team starters all last year, not not playing this season so far. So he's going to want to get minutes and legs and things like that. I often find that when I've been in similar positions, you probably find that you might have your strongest 11 with the first team in the League Cup, backed up by maybe a couple of devs and a bit of a, not necessarily a weaker bench, but maybe some more of your fringe players on the bench for that game, and then you send a lot of your fringe players and then back them up with dev players in the County Cup game. So, but yeah, I think, that's what it's that, that's why you've got squads. That's I'm not against it, because I'm more not against it because in the nicest way to Salisbury, if you put a full strength Swindon Town first women's side against Salisbury, I think you could probably discourage people from being in the competition, and that's not what we want to happen. Because what will happen is everybody will play Swindon Town. Everybody will be drawn against Swindon Town. This happened a few years ago. I don't know if Mike's still tuned in, but he'll remember the times when every time somebody drew Swindon in the County Cup, they just withdrew from the competition because they knew that there was a chance they were going to get spanked. So in a way, it gets rid of that, which I'm all for, to be honest. As long as Swindon are not treating it arrogantly, which I think they're not. I think they are weighing it up fairly. And it does give, we've seen Elise Clayton come through, as Kiana mentioned a couple of times on her interview earlier. Alana Coulin's another one who's a very good player for the devs. So, it does give those players that platform to play against a senior side and an established side, as opposed to against other dev sides.
Caution have been awarded their tie against Malmesbury. Bassett host Calm, which even my local geography isn't great, but if I'm right, Bassett to Calm, would that class as local derby?
That would be a West Wiltshire derby, or whatever you want to call it.
West Wiltshire derby?
Yeah, I don't think it will happen, but unfortunately. But I think it will be another good game. Maybe Bassett are at the slightly different end of the scale at the moment. Obviously, they've had a good start to the league, and they did okay in the FA Cup when you really think about the teams they were playing. But from the games I've seen, I think Bassett will want a bit more fluidity, so it won't be seen as a tier 6 against tier 7 or 8 side. It will be, I think James Lally will still put out quite a strong squad because he'll be wanting to stamp that mark, because Bassett are quite far behind in terms of games played as well this season. So
keep talking for 2 minutes, because I've just heard a weird noise in the kitchen.
Oh dear. I'm on my own. How can I keep talking on my own?
Just keep talking about the Bassett game.
I'll keep talking. I've got nothing else to say. Please, somebody ask me questions in the comments whilst Fifey's disappeared and left me completely to it. But yeah, so obviously anybody who is available, keep an eye on socials. Bassett is it won't be a too bad game to get down to as well, I'm sure, if you can get down. Other than that, go along to Chippenham Town, obviously, where I'm playing, where I'm now a resident coach for. So yeah, it'll be if you can't get to one game, I'm sure there's plenty, as Fifey said, action for tomorrow. Liam has come in. Thank you, Liam. You saved the day a little bit there, because there's nothing more awkward than talking to yourself on screen. Lineup for tomorrow. I'm quite interested to see what people's thoughts are on that. In terms of, I think he's not going to change the back three from what it's been, because obviously, as much as I have concerns myself over the defense options in there, I do think there's an opportunity for a little bit of movement every now and then. But whilst it's still a clean sheet defense almost, I can't see that changing. Hi, Fifey. Liam saved the day because I ran out of things to say about Bassett. So I asked our wonderful crowd what questions they've got Liam's asked about the lineup for tomorrow, which is actually something you and I didn't cover, did we?
No, we were too busy talking about who'd returned from injury.
Yeah, so I was saying I don't think the back three will change. Do you, Fife? I think. I think.
No, I think he'll want that to be settled, particularly if they are rested. I don't think he'll want to mess with it. But it's still interesting because if you were to ask me to pick the three that deserve to start because they've been the best when they've played, I don't think that's the three we're going with. Because I think Tapazzoli has come in and done well. So he would be one. I think Wilson Brown's been our best defender, but I think he'll stay on the bench. And the third one, I think, is a bit more up in the air as to who the third one would be. But I think he quite likes playing Knight Labelle.
Because I'm not. I just said just before you came back that I'm not, as you know, I'm not Knight Labelle's biggest fan. I think he's good. Don't get me wrong. But I do think he is one that, if we're going to concede, I feel like is coming down his angle. But I think
it's not a euphemism, is it?
No, but didn't he had Clark in there as well, didn't he, last time? I think he'll go with Clark again, especially away from home. He seems to like, I've noticed that it tends to be kind of those gritty players, and Knight Labelle's probably one of those, really, is kind of those really gritty, non-fancy footballers that kind of make up our back three at the moment, and I think he'll use that in an away game as well. And then what do we reckon? Kilkenny, obviously.
Old
Acre, Nichols probably still in there. Drinan, I imagine. But then, does he put Drinan in with Palmer? Possibly.
No, I think Palmer goes back on the bench.
You reckon?
Yeah.
Yeah, but then he's.
Although, how do you argue that you've got a striker who's got 2 in 2, and you've got a striker who's got something like 11 in 11?
Yeah.
How do you argue that one has done better than the other?
Yeah, exactly. So I wouldn't be surprised if it's Drinan, and if he goes with like a Drinan and Palmer. To be fair, now.
I don't think they start together, but I don't think it would be the worst thing in the world if they did, because we know that although Drinan's been doing wonderfully as the focal point, we know how effective he can be as the support one as well.
Yeah. And I think obviously we know that it's likely that Snowden is still going to be occupying that right wing back spot, especially with his news. It seems to be only in the advert. I don't think I've seen it anywhere else.
Swindon have posted it on their socials.
Was that whilst we've been live, is it?
It was just before we went live.
Okay, that's why I hadn't seen it. So yeah, I mean, that's great, isn't it? Like, especially the way he's come on.
So let me do my journalistic bit here.
There we go. I know what you're going to ask me as well.
I've got 2 questions for you based on stuff that's happened since we were last together. Okay. Jake Tabor has extended his loan at Bath City. Snowden has signed a new contract. Does that mean that A, we don't see Tabor play for Swindon again? And does that mean B, a certain young hot prospect right wing back is gone in January?
I fucking hope not. But with Tabor, I think he's just doing month by month to see how the fitness of our strikers plays out. I think, because if you think about if Drinan was out for longer and then one of our other strikers picked up an injury, all of a sudden we're in a little bit of a predicament. So I think that's the only reason that's month by month. I do think I am trusting Holloway's word a little bit. I think he does see Tabor as a bit of a project. Although, I don't think he's scored for Bath yet, has he? I don't even know how. I don't think he's actually played that much either, to be fair, because I think it's been up and down in terms of the first game was an FA Cup game, so he couldn't play anyway. I think it's maybe 2 sub appearances so far. Yeah, so not again, same as what he's having at Swindon. I just think you need the lad to be starting and playing. Do you know what I mean? That's the only way you're going to get him really getting confidence and scoring. He doesn't need to be sat on. We don't need to send him out on loan to sit him on the bench. So it's I'd rather, although I think he is better than that level, genuinely. I'd not they're better than Bath City's level, but I'd rather see him drop down a level and play 90 minutes of football. So he's come back to us, developed in one way, but also coming back to us hopefully in confidence as well. But To answer the second one, McGregor, again, I think Holloway probably is trusting in McGregor's development.
But is he not stunting it by the fact he's getting 0 minutes?
Yeah, but I think at the moment with the couple of injuries that McGregor's had, which are probably, when you really reflect on it, are quite concerning for somebody his age, and also with the form that Snowden has been in, unfortunately, that's a little bit. The thing that confuses me is him not even getting on the bench sometimes. But again, it's the power of the squad. Do I think we'll sell him in January? No. Do I think if he still hasn't played that much, he goes out on loan? Yes. And I think that would be the thing he needs. But because the difference is with sending him out on loan is we haven't brought in a loan player in his position. Like that's when it irritates, as you guys know, as everybody who watches us knows. That's one thing that irritates me when we're sending young players out on loan and then bringing in somebody else's young player to play them ahead of it. So, but
my only thing with it is, and we know how these things can pan out sometimes, is in the summer we were concerned that he might end up at a League One or maybe even lower end of Championship club, and we get a tribunal fee and that's it. But now I'm concerned it's the other way, and in January he might end up at a National League North or South club.
And we get no money.
Well, not that. Like, he ends up there on loan, and then his whole career just kind of stalls a little bit, which would be a real shame for a player of his quality. I'd be interested to know the thoughts of those watching, what you think happens in that one in particular. In the meantime, because Woody's dealing with his own at-home things at the moment, that's both of us paused the thing, although his was resolved a lot quicker. Let's see what some of the other questions. And don't forget, Woody, and you're the only one here tonight that gets to do this, so it's you and those watching. We've still got technically the intro questions for this month, and the centre backs to discuss tonight. So we'll come to that in a minute. But Mike asked, who do you expect to be in the County Cup final?
Oh, that's putting it on, isn't it, Mike? I'm glad you're here with me now, Fife. There's a bit of a blind, security blanket. If I was answering that on my own, I'd have moments of silence whilst I'm trying to figure.
While Woody has a think, No, go on. Do you want to think out loud, or do you just want to think?
No, I've got it. Based on what I've seen this season so far, and as long as obviously they didn't play each other in the final on the cup on the way, I think it will be a Swindon Caution final. Swindon Caution final.
You've named 3 clubs there in all different things. Swindon Caution.
I corrected myself. I said Bassett Caution, then I said Swindon Caution. So I think it will be a Swindon Caution final.
Okay, nice. Lepo asked, what's the worst ground in the Football League?
Ooh.
Do you know what? I can't think. Admittedly, I haven't been to half as many as most of you have. I can't really think of one that I thought this is actually a shithole.
No, I think most grounds nowadays have something quite nice about them. Obviously, there's a couple I haven't been to, like Priestfields, Gillingham. I've heard not good things about that. Is it Priestfields?
I've been to Gillingham once, I think, and I didn't mind it.
I think it depends.
I'm sure that's the one that had the wooden seats, like the wooden bench type seats. If I remember correctly.
Yeah, I've never been, so I think it depends what you're looking for. If you're looking for, a stadium that. Look at Sam. Have you seen the news? Not with the new plans for Oxford United Stadium. They look decent. Do
you know what, Sam? Yeah, Walsall's a shithole just because
Walsall's not that. Yeah, Walsall's not.
There's just nothing. There's nothing. Like, it's not a bad ground. There's just nothing great about it.
I mean, the food was amazing, but Harrogate, that's an odd ground as well. That looks like a ground that's kind of every time they got promoted, they were told they needed to add another stand in somewhere. So although I do enjoy, I've been there twice and I did like it there, and you are closer to the pitch. It does give it that little bit of non-league nostalgia, if you like. But the problem is it does look like it's been kind of patched together as the years have gone on. as well. So unfortunately, not that it's a horrible, but I do think it's out of the ones I've been to, it's not the greatest.
So the
Fleetwood was
for...
strange. Oh, wasn't it 5 feet? Fleetwood was really strange because they had that stand on the right was really nice. You know, that one that was on the as the Swindon fans are looking out, the dugout stand. That was really nice. And then there was fuck all over on the other side, wasn't there? It was like it looked like a sports and social club over on the other. So actually, yeah, because they just can't get anything right. Fleetwood, that's the worst ground. Because
for the benefit of those listening on Lepo said Kassam, Sam said Warsaw, Ben said Harrogate, Liam said Barrow, Sean said Forest Green.
Not Football League now, though, are they?
Not Football League anymore, no. I'm trying to think if there's anywhere that I've really not liked. I cannot really think of one. I can think of ones that I really did like, but not ones that I didn't like.
Yeah, like ones like.
I mean, Lepo makes a great point. The ones that I was initially going to say, and they said some of the ramshackle grounds have character. Does MK's Bowl? And I was going to be like, MK's Stadium is lovely.
Yeah, but
but inside it's still quite soulless, unfortunately.
Yeah, because they only have 5 fans. And then I did think similar when this is probably a bit more controversial, when I went to Swindon Coventry. Lovely again. Lovely. Yeah, the
lovely stadium, yeah.
If it was still called that, so I had to check. But lovely stadium, but not really I didn't feel that much of an atmosphere. But that might be because obviously there's such a big stadium.
Coventry were in difficult times.
And they've played at different levels for longer than we have. So but it looks like Barrow might be the winner. Looking at Sean's recent one, I think there's a couple of numbers of Barrow. But yeah,
sorry, Barrow fans, if you're watching.
Yeah.
I was listening to TalkSport the other day, and I appreciate that it's very much down to your feelings towards the national team. But Andy Goldstein and Darren Bent were having a bit of a disagreement regarding the lure of international success. I think it was based on Pickford signing a new contract to Everton and what resembled like ambition, for example. Because they said Pickford had the quality to go and play for a club that was more likely to win trophies, but he's decided to stay loyal to Everton. And then the question rose, is he happy, though, building his dynasty at Everton, but potentially winning something for England? And then a random argument came up. So I'm interested in your thoughts on this, Woody, because I do feel that you are someone who wants England to succeed and wants England to do well. Goldstein was saying, if you take someone like a Phil Neville, for example, who's won 6 Premier Leagues, he thinks, a couple of FA Cups, a couple of League Cups, probably involved in at least one of the Champions League winning squads as well. He said someone like that would trade all of those medals for a World Cup medal with England. Darren Bent said, no, I would not trade. And Goldstein said, you would trade. He said, if you take a Beckham or a Giggs, they would trade all of their medals for a World Cup medal. And he's like, no. And so they started saying, what's the number then? And he's like, so Darren Bent said, if you've won 9 or 10 Premier Leagues, 4 or 5 FA Cups and 3 Champions Leagues, you're not trading all of that for a World Cup. And Goldstein said, I am. And I was in the radio going, Darren, I normally agree with you on a lot of stuff, but I would trade all of that for a World Cup.
Yeah, I mean, I'm almost the opposite. I tend to disagree with Darren on quite a lot. I mean, that just just the fact he just talks shit. But evidence in proof. But I think that just screams somebody to me who probably didn't even make. I think not even 15 games for England. I don't know his full international record. Yeah, so I don't know. And this is just my opinion on Ben. I appreciate everybody's all the same, but I do always sense in a lot of his arguments there is always a bit of a bitter taste in his mouth to his personal opinion. And I do think the England thing is a thing because he was in the England squad at a time that was probably quite difficult for him to get into the England squad. But no, I think, and it's funny because I've been listening a lot to like a couple of podcasts like FC Bullard and things like that. And the amount of footballers they get on and say, look, once you've played for England, you feel like you've hit the game, and there's only one level above that game, or two levels if you go tiered. That the next level is winning the continental, the next level is winning the world. So I just think that when you win 6 Premier League, and then Phil Neville's a great example. Phil Neville will never be remembered for being a Premier League medal winner. Carlos Tevez, fucking brilliant player, will never be remembered for being a Premier League winner. Okay, Zidane will always be remembered for being a winner of competitions, of everything. The Italian sides will always be remembered for being World Cup champions, and things like that. I think the only way a footballer really instigates a true legacy in the game is by winning a major competition. And because I always said that the Messi-Ronaldo argument, for example, and obviously it's happened now, the Messi-Ronaldo argument was always going to be who captained their side to a World Cup win first. Obviously, Ronaldo wasn't helped by the fact that, Portugal go like that with their international side. But
they won a European competition.
They won a couple, didn't they? I think, if I remember right. Is it a couple at Portugal, or was it just one? I lose track. But I
think it's one in the CR7 era.
Yeah, and then obviously you look at Messi's one World Cup, one World Cup.
They eventually won I want to say the Copa America, and then from there they built on that and won the World Cup.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That was it. Yeah. Thank you. So, and I was always CR7. And in fact, probably to today, I'm probably still more CR7. I'm a massive Cristiano Ronaldo fan. But for me, it almost settled that argument a little bit. Messi winning the World Cup is, for me, kind of put him on that pedestal, of being some of the best. And, like you look at all the players, Pele, not remembered for what he did for a club. He's mainly remembered what he did for country. So yeah, for us anyway. So as an elongated way, shut up, Darren Bent. For me, it's an accolade every English player definitely wants to achieve.
Okay. Let's throw in the big Swindon question of the day then. We've discussed in the last couple of weeks goalkeepers, right backs and left backs from the Danny Wilson, Richie Wellens and Paolo Di Canio eras to start building this ultimate 11. And today, Woody, you have the options of the centre-backs. Now, when I first drew these out, I did what I considered the partnerships, if you like, and then realised how many shows we had and cut it down to no, we will just pick one centre-back. So there will be
We're not finalising ourselves with our best 11 from the 3 eras then.
Well, do you know what? Woody? I will let you pick 2 centre-backs. How's that?
No, I can't remember. Or have you got them written down?
But they don't have to be the partnerships, but I'm going to keep them in terms of the secondary centre-back and the top centre-back. So you can't pick 2 top centre-backs. Okay?
Yeah, got you.
So the secondaries. These are the partnerships as I wrote them down. It was Greer and Cuthbert. Cool. It was Flint and De Vera. And it was Conroy and Baudry. Okay? So choice 1 is for the secondary centre-back. You get the choice of Cuthbert, De Vera, or Baudry. Who are you picking to start? Who are you picking to sub? And who are you picking to sell? Everyone watching along, because we're so short on panelists now, I would love as many of those of you to say start, sub, sell, Cuthbert, De Vera, Baudry.
I loved Matty Baudry, and when he hit that fine bit of form for us, he was class. When he I've been
desperately trying to get him on our show, but I just can't get him to reply.
Yeah. So what was it? Baudry, Cuthbert, and who was the other one?
Joe De Vera.
De Vera. Oh, I like De Vera as well, mind.
Very underrated, De Vera.
Yeah. Oh, see, a lot of it lines on that primary centre back, doesn't it? Who they partner him with? Right, I'm gonna go start Baudry because I liked him a lot.
Yeah.
Cuthbert as a sub because he was a bit of a bastard. So he's kind of someone you want to bring on. And then Sal de Vera, as much as I liked him.
So you've agreed with Lepo.
Good.
Mike has said start Baudry. The other two don't mind which. I would go the other way because I feel I could be wrong, and I'm sure someone can fact check me and tell me that I'm wrong. I feel Cuthbert is a more liable red card. So I would sub de Vera and sell Cuthbert.
Yeah, that's not a bad shout. I might have to have a look to see how many red cards Scott Cuthbert.
Yeah, someone fact checked. Tell me De Vera got sent off like 6 times that season.
De Vera did get sent off. What game did he get sent off in? He definitely got sent off in a game. Please hold caller. I'm going to do that.
Sean's gone the same as you. Baudry, Cuthbert, De Vera. So once again, it looks like I'm wrong.
No, Fife. You're not wrong. Just opinions a bit different.
Yeah, I have a different opinion to everyone. By the way, speaking of former Swindon players, Saul Bryn inspired Middlesbrough are currently 2-1 up at home to Ipswich, live on Sky Sports.
Go on, Saul.
So Baudry is definitely getting the secondary centre-back role then. So it comes down to Greer, Flint, or Conroy. Take personal pleasure about what.
I'm not worried. Yeah, you know me. I'm not too worried about what he said. He was a hell of a player for us, and he gave it.
Still only gets a sub role for me.
Yeah, Flynn gave back what we were given in that whole game. To be fair, it was.
I'm happy to go first on this one. See how you went.
Good, go for it.
And I'm going to go in the order that I read them out. Greer starts, Flint sub, Conroy sold. You're not looking as convinced. Mike says Dixon. Mike says Dixon. No, let's try that again. Mike says Bryn saved a penalty too.
Oh, go on, Bryn. What a player! See, I didn't sell Bryn in the goalkeepers.
Didn't? No.
No.
That's because he wasn't an option.
Wasn't he? I saw Bryn was in there. Bryn was in another discussion.
It was Lucas, Fodringham, and Bender.
Oh no, yeah, I was the one that was starting Bender, wasn't it? That was it. It was Bender. I was saying I would start him.
Lepo agrees with me. Yes.
Do you know what? But I've got
Gordon Greer, man.
I've got Cuthbert. I've got Cuthbert on the bench. So do I need Flint there as well? Do you know what? Right. Yeah. Greer to start.
Sean's going Flint, Greer, Conroy. So everyone's selling Conroy at the minute.
Greer to start. Conroy on the bench.
Ooh.
And Sal Flint.
Selling Flint.
I thought it was great, but I don't want Greer and Flint in the same. I don't want them in the same. And fucking Greer, Cuthbert, Flint, and Baudry. Jesus Christ, man! You just need to. Ricky Shakes would have a field day against them. So yeah, I've got to put some pace in there.
Shakes. I love Ricky Shakes.
Got to put some. I'm gonna put Conroy because I was a big Conroy fan, as you remember. So
I wasn't not a Conroy fan. I just don't think he gets in ahead of Greer or Flint.
Yeah, Flint was great, but I don't want Flint and Greer.
Mike says Conroy would be out injured.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that is true. But Greer was class as well. So no.
So to confirm, then
I'm 100% wrong. 100% wrong to everybody. I get that, but I liked Conroy, so I'm putting Conroy on the bench and Greer, and then get rid of Flint.
Okay. Well, so to confirm our team, now my vote doesn't count in this, so we're going with yours.
Oh God!
Did you say start Conroy or sub Conroy?
Sub Conroy.
Okay, starting.
So he can come in and hold in midfield as well if I need him.
Okay. So to confirm so far, Fodringham won the goalkeeper. Wes Kamazi asks, Fodringham won the goalkeeper vote. Caddis won the right back vote. Sheehan won the left back vote with Ben and Andrew Hawes last Friday.
I think I was agreed that.
Because it was either Sheehan, Kabocci, or Iandolo. And now we've gone with Greer, and Baudry.
That's so slow, though, isn't it? That's so slow.
Conroy had that diagonal long ball.
Yeah, continental long ball.
So, yeah, in a back four, we've gone Caddis, Sheehan, Baudry, and Greer.
That's so slow. So slow.
We've not been blessed with the fastest centre-backs.
No, that's true.
You'll be pleased to know that on Monday, joining us earlier than you would expect, Sai is on because he's away next weekend and missing the Colchester game, but he didn't want to miss his time with Fools. So Sai's on Monday to look ahead to Colchester, where they could be taking on table-topping Swindon. We will be doing this again, and I think it's time we throw out the right wingers because we're going old school 4-4-2 in this formation, and we're getting the wingers out. So prepare on Monday for both Sai and some blistering right wingers to be on display. Who will be partnering Caddis on that right-hand side? I wonder who it will be.
Yeah. Should we just skip that one? We know what it's going to be, don't we?
Liam says Richie wins all day. Yes, but Liam, you forget I'm a traditionalist, and therefore Richie with his left foot may be classed as a left winger, just to piss everybody off.
Brilliant.
Look at chaos. Anyway, listen, Woody, this has been great. Obviously, we had a great first hour. We've done nearly another hour with questions and nonsense, as well as Swindon Town chat. Thank you so much for your time tonight. Thank you to everyone who's watched along, joined in with comments, joined in with questions. As we always say, this show is great for us, but it is nothing without you. And speaking of our show being nothing without you, one final thing before we do finish. 3 weeks tonight is Fools Live at the Legends Lounge. We had a guest to announce for the Q&A, but said guest had personal issues, which means he's now going to guest on one of these shows. So we'll announce that very soon. And we are working towards getting another guest, which we will hopefully announce soon. But either way, on the night, you have got, I'm sure it's definitely 12, if not 13 of the 14 Fools to do our usual chat at the Legends Lounge. And on the night, we're also giving away Swindon Town themed prizes. We're raising money for charity. Please head over to the Eventbrite website, search for 5 years of FRI, claim your free tickets. They're completely free. We're only asking people to get tickets so we can make sure the right number of tables and chairs are out for people. We want to do these things properly. So please do go get your tickets. We would love to celebrate 5 years of doing things like interviewing Stefani Miglioranzi and talking about how slow our best ever centre backs have been in 3 iconic eras. That's the levels we're talking about here. But yeah, we would love to celebrate 5 years of doing this show with as many of you as possible. So please do go and get your tickets. As I say, the tickets themselves are completely free. It's just so we can know how many numbers are coming. And 3 weeks tonight till we're live in person and get to do the show. And hopefully, fingers crossed, we will be announcing a new guest Q&A very, very soon. I'm working on it, I promise. I thought we were so close. We had it. We were about to announce it. Woody knows how close we were and how disappointed I am that we didn't get to announce it.
Design the graphic.
Design the graphic. If any of you saw that 90 seconds, there was a graphic out there.
Well, yeah, somebody did, because somebody put in one of my chats.
Nice,
I was like,
nice.
how did you get onto that so quick? At least we're on notifications.
Yes, we are. But honestly, all joking aside, please do go get your tickets. It's going to be a great night regardless. And we're hoping to raise lots of money for 2 fantastic local charities along the way as well. But for myself and Woody, thank you so much for watching. We hope you enjoyed your hour with Miggs. We will get him back. We will get him back on Fools and we will get him back to the county ground. There are 2 promises that we are making. Those 2 things will happen. And you never know, one day, maybe Enzo Miglioranzi will be plying his trade on the county ground turf as well. But for now, from me, Woody, and the rest of the guys, have a fantastic weekend. As we say, if you're going to Accrington, be loud, be proud, support the town. And if you go to any of the women's football, tag us in all the pictures you want. We love seeing your footballing adventures. But for now, that's it. We'll see you again on Monday. Good night.
Take my hand. take my whole life too, but I can't help falling in love